better statistical season right now than his unanimous MVP year, by the way. Now, that team, of course, was 73-9. And so where do you sort of assess his likelihood that he could win another MVP?
Well, the team just has to improve. They just have to. First of all, they have to win a game on the road. Secondly, they just have to win more. I don't think they need to finish, first in the West if he keeps this up. And I don't know where the spot they have to be to really put him in the conversation is, but they're not there right now. My question for you: we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I want to hear your thoughts on him in the MVP. But just the difference between the starters and the bench on this team and how stark it is. This was from a couple of days ago. The starters are plus 77. The bench is at minus 90. How is this even possible? A, but B, is there? And this is a glass half full sort of way to phrase this question. Is there a world where it's like if the bench just gets like marginally better with how good the starters are, all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, this is the team that won a championship last year?
Yeah. So Jordan Poole, when he subs in for Clay and sort of where he's the fifth starter, that group, hasn't been great. The group with Poole for Kevon Looney hasn't been great relative to how you would expect those groups to perform. The one interesting thing in that sort of death lineup 3.0, going into last night, at least Clay's 3-point shooting numbers, he was like 5 for 22. And if you just said like, if Clay's shooting 35%, all of a sudden that becomes a plus unit. If Clay's shooting 40% with that unit, all of a sudden that's a really good unit. So I think some of this is small sample size. I think DiVincenzo has a chance to figure that out. He had some good moments last night. And I think JaMychal Green has some good moments last night and has a chance to figure that out. In terms of the MVP right now on DraftKings Sportsbook, Steph is currently ranked 4th in the MVP race with odds of plus 900. Right now he's behind Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Jason Tatum. And I think that's fair. He's ahead of guys like Joel Embiid, Ja Morant, Kevin Durant. But I think Doncic, Antetokounmpo, Tatum, that's fair. Tatum right now, the Celtics are on a burner, 9 straight wins. Tatum's playing unbelievable. Giannis, of course, two-way brilliance, and Luka is basically the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, don't you think, he and Luka are in similar positions if you should have judged them right now, and they're both having these great seasons, but the team is, has been hit or miss compared to Milwaukee and Boston?
Yeah. Milwaukee and Boston right now have looked like the most complete teams. And of course, Milwaukee without Chris Middleton still. So there's a chance they go on a run if he's back and healthy and playing well. The really interesting thing, I think you're right on the MVP race. I think for Steph to really be in the conversation at the end, the Warriors have to be a top 3 or top 4 team in the Western Conference. DraftKings Sportsbook still loves them to win the Western Conference. They're tied with the Clippers right now with the best odds to win the Western Conference at plus 350. So that will be an interesting thing to play out over the season, is where do the Warriors stack up? If Steph continues this dominance and this brilliance, he may have a chance at that third regular season MVP. As always, see the show notes for details on DraftKings. As always, thank you for listening to the show. Please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Wondery, wherever you listen to your podcast. We appreciate you guys.